Yo, and what is going on YouTube, and welcome back for another Oathbreaker Deck Tech. Now, if you guys are interested in the Oathbreaker format, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. If you guys are interested in MagiKids, the official charity of the Oathbreaker team, make sure to check out those links in the description down below. But guys, let's go ahead and jump right on into this video. Now, my Oathbreaker of choice for today is going to be Ugin the Ineffable, paired with his signature spell of All Is Dust. Now, Ugin enters the battlefield for 6 colorless mana, 4 loyalty, and the following abilities. Now, his static ability is colorless spells we cast cost 2 less. His +1 exiles the top card of our library face down that we can look at. We get to create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token that when it leaves the battlefield, we return the exiled card to our hand. A -3 ability that destroys target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Now, his signature spell is perfectly tailored to this deck. All Is Dust. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents he or she controls, but the kicker is we are not running any colored permanents in this deck, so we are going to maintain hopefully a massive board state while our opponents are going to have to sacrifice everything. Now, we have a lot to talk about with this deck, but the first is going to be a couple other planeswalkers that I like for this deck. The first being Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Yes, the 8 mana, 7 loyalty planeswalker with 3 abilities. I really like him here for his -X ability, which is on a similar axis to All Is Dust. We get to exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less, that's 1 or more colors. We just want an additional board wipe just in case we aren't able to get things going really quickly. The other planeswalker is going to be Karn, Scion of Urza. For 4 mana and 5 loyalty, he's going to enter the battlefield. Really, we want to just use his -2 that creates a construct token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact we control. Now, this isn't going to be an artifact-based deck, but we are running so many mana rocks in this deck that this can become kind of a nuisance for our opponents. Plus, Karn does just give us card advantage with his +1 ability. Now, since this is going to be an Eldrazi tribal deck, we are running an extremely high mana curve, and we need to ramp in order to get to these creatures as fast as we possibly can. And the first of those is going to be cards that just target Eldrazi specifically, with cards like Urza's Incubator and Herald's Horn. Those are the mana rocks, but we also have lands that target Eldrazi, with Eldrazi Temple and Eye of Ugin, just reducing the cost or tapping for 2 to cast Eldrazi creatures. Now, other lands we're running, and yes, we are running a set of the Tron lands. Why would you not want to tap for 7 on turn 3? Now, assembling these lands is quite difficult as one-ofs, but it is possible. Now, we're also running an expedition map, and that is because of the importance of these lands. If we can turn 1 map and then turn 2 crack to go find the Eldrazi Temple and try to get our Eldrazi out even faster, that's extremely valuable. Now, we're not just running mana rocks, we're also running some creatures with Hedron Crawler, Mannequin being at the lowest on that curve, Palladium Myr. But we're also running some Eldrazi mana dorks. Warden of Geometries, Kozilek's Channeler, both creatures that tap for mana. Now, we also have a Warping Whale. This is really just in here because I love a good counter spell. I suppose you could use it for the mana dork, the Eldrazi Scion creature. But really, you just want to be countering people's spells. Now, we also have just our regular mana rocks with Mox Opal, Mindstone, Sisei's Ring, Thran Dynamo, Gilded Lotus, and Golem's Eye. Now, guys, since we are going to have all of the mana and cost reducers of, I believe, 7 mana here, we are going to be wanting to cast our huge Eldrazi Stompy creatures. Now, the lowest on that totem pole is actually going to be the Eldrazi Mimic and the Matter Reshaper. Now, I really love the Eldrazi Mimic because although he is only a 2/1 for 2 mana, late game he copies another colorless creature entering the battlefield power and toughness. So our 2/1 creature instantly becomes a 10/10. Now that is just really good in the late game. It can help us kind of fix our board state if we need to. But now moving on to the next Eldrazi creatures, we have creatures like Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher, Walker of the Waste. I really like just because he gets +1/+1 for each land we control named Waste, and you can see I think we're running 14 of them, so 5 mana, 18/18 with Trample seems pretty good. The Blight Herder, Kozilek's Pathfinder, Conduit of Ruin, Endbringer. That brings us to the Deceiver of Form. Now, an 8/8 for 7 mana. At the beginning of combat on our turn, we get to reveal the top card of our library. If it's a creature card, our other creatures can see that creature's power and toughness and become a copy of that until end of turn. So our Mannequin, our Palladiumer, our Matter Reshaper, the Eldrazi Mimic, they can all see a Walker of Waste sitting on the top and become just a bigger creature. Our Ruin Processor, the Eldrazi Devastator, an 8/9 for 8 trample creature, seems super powerful. Again, we're going to have 7 mana cost reducers, so let's just cast the Eldrazi Devastator for 1. How about that? 1 mana for an 8/9 trampler. Seems amazing. Now, that brings us to the highest on our mana curve, and the first is going to be Artisan of Kozilek, a 10/9 for 9 mana. When we cast the Artisan of Kozilek, we get to return target creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield, and he also has Annihilator too. Now, those not familiar with this mechanic, whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. Now, the next is the Spaghetti King himself, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, a 10/10 for 10. He has Indestructible. When we cast him, we get to exile 2 target permanents. This just gets rid of other planeswalkers, can reduce the mana resources for other players, but also he has a milling effect. Whenever he attacks, defending player has to exile the top 20 cards of his library. That brings us to Kozilek, the Great Distortion, a 12/12 for 10 mana. When we cast him, we get to rebalance our hand and draw up to 7 cards. He has Menace, so he cannot be just chump blocked by 1 creature, and discard a card with converted mana cost X and counter target converted mana cost, or target spell with converted mana cost X. Now, that's not really relevant for this deck, but I suppose you could build that into your deck. The last creature of this deck is going to be Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre. Now, I'm actually thinking about switching this out for an Emrakul, the Promised End, just to have one of each of the Titans. But Ulamog, when he's cast, we get to destroy target permanent. He's indestructible. He has that Annihilator 4 mechanic. And when he is put into a graveyard from anywhere, the owner shuffles him into his or her library. So he does kind of protect us from mill decks. Now, guys, that's going to be it for this Oathbreaker Deck Tech. If you have any decks you'd like to see in the future, make sure to leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to make my way through them. You guys are killing it in the comment section. Just keep it up. We're going to keep making these videos. We actually have the return of the Versus series coming hopefully next week. We're just kind of ironing out the last few details. But as always, guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because what else are you going to do? I'll catch you guys later.